What if I told you someone got married, filed for divorce 2 days later, and then demanded $160 million? Yeah, you heard that right. Not 16,000, $160 million after 48 hours of marriage. This isn't just another Hollywood love story gone wrong. This is Toni Braxton versus Birdman, a twisted saga of luxury, betrayal, in a relationship that might have been nothing more than an expensive setup. Because now the number one stunner himself is speaking out, and he's not holding back.
Birdman claims he was played emotionally, financially, and publicly, that Toni Braxton walked into his life, drained his pockets, and dipped when the money stopped flowing. But the kicker is she came back years later, love-bombed her way back in, and within 2 days of marriage pulled the plug, asking for his entire fortune on her way out. And y'all, that's not even the craziest part. With past bankruptcies, missing million-dollar rings, awkward interviews, and shady behavior that's got fans side-eyeing harder than ever, this story unfolds like a slow-motion car crash you just can't stop watching.
Was Toni Braxton really in love with Birdman? Or was this whole just a bag-chasing blueprint hiding behind a ballot? Let's unravel the twisted money trail, the lies, and the red flags buried in simple sight, because what really happened behind the scenes is more scandalous than any R&B breakup you ever heard.
For years, people scratched their heads wondering how Toni Braxton and Birdman even made sense as a couple. One was the smooth R&B legend behind heartbreak anthems. The other, a grill-wearing rap mogul who called himself the number one stunner. But somehow their worlds collided, and for a while, fans rooted for the unlikely pair. They first started dating in secret around 2016, and though their relationship was rocky and inconsistent, they kept making headlines. Engagement rumors swirled, then came the flashy $5 million yellow diamond ring, but just as fast as things got serious, they vanished from the public eye. No wedding, no updates, just static silence. Fast forward to 2023, and out of nowhere, Toni circles back. According to Birdman, she slid back into his life like nothing ever happened, smiling, flirting, dropping hints that she missed what they had. But behind that sweet reunion, he now claims it wasn't love, it was a setup. Birdman says at first he didn't fall for it. He had moved on. But Toni? She was persistent, showing up, checking in, making sure she stayed in his orbit long enough to crack the door back open. And slowly, those old feelings crept back in. Within a year, they were back together, and this time, they actually said I do. August 8th, 2024, they tied to knot. But if you blink, you missed the marriage, because 2 days later, it was over. That's not a honeymoon, that's a getaway plan. According to court docs, Toni filed for divorce on August 10th, citing the marriage was irretrievably broken. And while fans were still confused about what went down in that microscopic marriage window, Toni allegedly hit Birdman with a $160 million divorce demand. You read that right. 2 days married, $160 million. That's not heartbreak. That's a hostile takeover. But what came next was even more outrageous. A divorce demand so bold, it had fans calling her the gold-digging queen of R&B. Stay with me.
By now, the whispers weren't whispers anymore. They were loud accusations flying across social media. Was Toni Braxton ever in it for love, or was it always about the money? Birdman's inner circle started speaking out, and the narrative flipped fast. According to insiders, Toni never even tried to play the role of wife. She allegedly dipped right after the I do like she was clocking out of a job she never planned to keep. And when she couldn't get access to his money directly, she allegedly tried something else. She went after the jewelry. Sources claim Toni made subtle but sneaky moves to gain control over some of Birdman's most valuable pieces: chains, watches, custom ice-style gear, stuff worth hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Allegedly, she tried to pawn or offload some of it when the legal route got messy. That's not heartbreak behavior. That's Ocean's 11 with a love song soundtrack.
Birdman was floored. He reportedly had no idea until after things were already unraveling. And when he found out, he didn't just feel robbed, he felt stupid, plagued, manipulated. And if that wasn't enough, it stirred up a storm of public opinion. The gold digger label clung to Toni like glue. People started digging into her past, and what they found didn't help her case. Suddenly, her reputation as a legendary vocalist wasn't center stage anymore. It was her financial reputation being dragged through the court of public opinion. People began connecting dots they'd ignored before. The lavish lifestyle, the bankruptcy filings, the mysterious return to Birdman right as her career was crumbling again. What started as a tabloid rumor became a full-blown theory. Did Toni Braxton use Birdman to fund a financial comeback and then try to cash out after just 48 hours of marriage? It was the kind of mess that no publicist could clean up. And the deeper people dug into Toni's financial past, the darker the picture became. Coming up next, a long history of money problems and the 2 bankruptcies that changed everything. Let's rewind the tape for a second, because this wasn't Toni Braxton's first dance with debt. In fact, her track record with money is what really has fans side-eyeing this Birdman situation with raised eyebrows and crossed arms. Back in the late 90s, Toni was at the top of her game. Millions of albums sold, Grammys, sold-out shows. She was one of the biggest voices in R&B, period. But then, out of nowhere, in 1998, she filed for bankruptcy. And it wasn't just a little financial hiccup, it was a full-blown scandal. How does someone who sold over 15 million albums go broke? Turns out, Toni signed a notoriously exploitative contract, earned pennies on the dollar, and spent like someone with Beyoncé money. Limousines, designer clothes, mansions, high-stakes lifestyle, all without the financial cushion to back it up. But it didn't stop there. By 2010, Toni filed for bankruptcy again, and this time it was worse. She claimed her debts were somewhere between $10 million and $50 million. Yes, you read that right. $50 million. She blamed it on a string of bad luck: the collapse of her Las Vegas residency, a serious heart condition, insurance disputes, tax issues. The list went on. But people weren't buying all of it, especially after she went on Oprah trying to explain herself and ended up making things worse.
Braxton!
She was so freaking mean to me. I was in shock.
Do you take responsibility for the situation that you're in right now?
100%.
100%.
100%. I couldn't believe it because I loved her so much. I admired her and looked up to her. And she pretty much reprimanded me. What do you mean? And immediately, she made me feel this big. That moment completely changed my career. It made people look down on me.
Because instead of owning her part in the chaos, Toni clashed with Oprah on national TV. Oprah pressed her hard about her spending habits, and Toni wasn't ready for that smoke. Do you take responsibility for where you are financially? 100% I do, but Oprah was so mean to me. That interview was supposed to help her image. Instead, it made people look at her like a financial train wreck wrapped in designer heels. She later said that moment ruined her public perception and damaged her career permanently. But here's the thing. Her spending never really slowed down, and the headlines kept coming. Now, fast forward to recent years. Record sales tanked. Her last album barely moved 7,000 copies. The one before that, just 16,000. That's not even a dent compared to her 90s reign. With record sales flopping and reality TV fading out, the checks weren't checking. And that's when she popped back up with Birdman. So now fans are asking the question nobody wanted to say out loud.
Was Birdman her last financial lifeline? And did she try to cash it in too fast?
By now, the Toni Braxton and Birdman saga feels less like a love story and more like a cautionary tale. Everything from the vanishing ring to the 2-day marriage, from the $160 million divorce demand to the awkward interviews, paints a picture that's hard to ignore. And while fans are split between sympathy and side-eye, Birdman is making his side of the story crystal clear. He's done playing the quiet role. He's tired of being painted as the flashy, reckless rapper with no heart, because according to him, he was all in. He loved Toni, trusted her, and in return, he got played. Allegedly, she didn't just hit him for money through the courts. She tried to sneak into his financial pockets behind the scenes. Rumors of pawn jewelry, secret side moves, attempts to liquidate valuables without his consent. And when the plan didn't go the way she expected, she pulled the emergency cord, divorced him, demanded everything, and walked away with the kind of headlines you can't buy, even with the platinum album. But now that Birdman is speaking up and the receipts are starting to stack, fans are being forced to reevaluate the entire relationship. Was Toni Braxton really just a woman scorned, trying to protect herself? Or was she a mastermind playing the long game from the moment Birdman slipped that diamond on her finger? Even now, years later, with both parties living separate lives, the mess still lingers. Because when emotions and millions mix, the truth never stays buried for long. And as Birdman put it best, put some respect on my name. I ain't gonna say it no more. But maybe, just maybe, he should have never had to say it in the first place.
So now we're left with the million-dollar question. Was this ever about love, or was it always about the lifestyle? Toni Braxton gave us heartbreak anthems that made generations cry into wine glasses. But off stage, her real-life romance was playing out like a twisted remix of her greatest hits. And this time, the heartbreak wasn't just emotional. It was $160 million deep. From bankruptcies to lost rings, from awkward interviews to sudden reunions, every piece of this story points to a truth fans are still struggling to accept. Maybe Birdman wasn't just a rebound, he was a retirement plan. And now with Birdman finally breaking his silence, the internet is torn. Is he bitter, or is he the first man brave enough to call out a pattern that's been hiding in plain sight for decades? Either way, one thing's for sure. This wasn't a fairy tale. It was a financial thriller dressed in diamonds and designer heels. So you tell us, was Toni Braxton misunderstood and mistreated? Or did she turn heartbreak into hustle? Was Birdman a willing fool, or just another casualty of a broken industry romance? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And remember, sometimes the messiest love stories aren't found in lyrics. They're written in court documents. This saga might be over on paper, but in the court of public opinion, it's just getting started.